So, we've had our technical difficulties for the day. And we sit here in spite of ourselves, looking at you in our HOA from R&D Hotline and the Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. So, let me recuperate from the calisthenics that we've been doing this morning, and I will start what would usually be the start of the show. And the way I would, especially this particular show, because it's going to be a bit different today. We have several different things going on, and people are probably looking at their browsers going, where the heck do I comment? I want to comment. I want to say hello. Well, if you can't do that, it could be that you can fix that, and we'll do this, share this, what Zara is showing right now. As Richard Clarkson and also Lon have figured out and instructed us, I can only leave them from the notification window. I can leave comments to others normally. For your show, I have to leave them in the notification window. But later, he also said, by refreshing his browser a couple times, he was able to re-engage, and all of a sudden, there was the chat option. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's very possible that the option will reappear if you keep at it, and I'm sorry for that. We've been sitting here for some time now trying to figure that out, and eventually, hopefully, it'll iron out. But in the meantime, we've got some ghosts in the machinery, so I'm just going to go ahead and start the show and hope that we can recuperate. I would bring up that something that applies to everything that we do here, and Brian Kramer pretty much coined this phrase and owns it. And he says, this is regarding today's marketing, there is no B2B or B2C. It's just H to H. In other words, human to human. Now, I want you to absorb that line and think about it. We're going to apply that in many, many episodes to come. But the whole concept of selling an ROI is modifying right now and changing radically. For instance, Lisa Ingalls calls it ROE, or return on engagement. Ted Rubin calls it R on R, and I like this one, return on relationship. So that basically gives sheds some light on the idea that it's not about the income, it's not about making the money, it's about what you do to create the relationships that eventually, inevitably, result in income. And without that, if you don't have that reason for them to come to you and spend their money, there is no return on investment. So ROE, R on R, there are some various things that we're reconsidering and adjusting in our marketing. Okay, I missed the message, but that's okay. So anyway, this Hangout series is dedicated to engagement marketing, which houses all of these things. And we feel, I think all of us who are in my panel today and the guests that I have will all agree that HOAs or Hangouts are the very best field of engagement for engagement marketing. So that's why we're here. Good morning, Saturday morning marketing smarties. I'm Roland from R&D Hotline. If you have a question, call Hotline. I'll leave it at that. And I'm an internet marketer, specialist. I mean generalist. Yeah, I'm trying to get used to what I am. Oh my God, I'm a generalist with strong opinions, and I had to figure it out. I've been listening to everybody else. What do I call myself? I do this and I do that, and I don't want to pigeonhole myself. A specialist doesn't have an overview, but the overviews don't have any specialty, and so on and so forth. Well, I am what I am, and the best way I can describe myself is a generalist with an overview with very strong opinions on certain things. And in the meantime, I'm trying to get more and more opinions to accumulate through this show and through other interactions. So the first thing that I would like to do is address the fact that we had our technical problems, and I would like everybody, if you can, to try and work out the comment stream from the event page or wherever you're watching from. And you may have to refresh a few times, but if you can get your comment option working, because we certainly haven't actually actively disabled it, but we're having problems engaging. So if you can comment, I would like to know who you are and where you're coming from, what city or state or country, anything like that. Just let us know who you are and from where. Now, we have some of the usual suspects with me today, and I'm really happy that you guys joined me, because I pretty much would drown if I was by myself. So the reason that we can have basic conversations is I can dig into the data memory banks of your brains and your contribution opportunity or ability, and it rounds out the show completely. So I'm really glad to have you here. So now we've invited people to let us know who they are. Who we are is an interesting group of people. So first I would like to introduce Zara Altair of the Midweek Zap. She's got an HOA series where she brings up-to-date, actionable information to online marketers. So hailing from the state of Oregon, and catch her traveling a lot, here is Zara Altair.
Hi everyone. Okay, I killed my page and I went back to events and I opened it up and I finally am able to enter in the comment stream. So I hope everybody's able to do that, and also it showed up in my email notifications and I was able to comment from there. So I'm hoping everyone is now able to comment. So thank you all for bearing with us, and we are talking about engaging today, and so you're doing it, and Elaine says that did it, refreshing 3 times in a row. Now my comment box is open. I refreshed 10 times, Elaine, it didn't open for me, so it's just a crazy day.
Thank you, Zara. And it looks like, of course, Lon got here early. I appreciate that. And he got it working, so that was the evidence for us to persevere. Terry Lee Britton says it's working, and he's coming to us from Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And thank you, Elaine. I really appreciate you being here, too. And I believe let's see, did I miss somebody? There was somebody else. Yeah, Richard Clarkson says it's working now. So we know it works. We've got proof, but you're going to have to work a little harder if you want to comment, and that's what it's all about. If you're just here to watch, it's perfect. But if you want to comment, you're going to have to work a little harder. So I hope you do that. Next, I'm going to move on to Molly Youngblood Geiger, and she has her own community called Marketing Online Leveraging YouTube, and she comes to us from Florida. And go ahead, Molly.
Hi, Roland. Thanks for that introduction. Yeah, my name is Molly Youngblood Geiger of Design It For You out of Jacksonville, Florida. I also actively participate on Google Plus in the Google Partners community, where I'm a Google Partners community ambassador. In addition to that, I also participate in the Google Small Business community, where I'm a Google Small Business community advisor. And in addition to that, based on my participation on Google Plus, I'm also a Google Rising Star.
Okay, great, Molly. And I'd like to know, what do you do in your free time? I'm just kidding. I doubt you have any. Yeah, okay. I just wondered about that. So moving on, I would like to introduce Karen V. Chin, a San Francisco marketer and social engagement specialist, and she's so good at what she does, I have to declare her my social media guru and my mentor. So she's been leading me around by the nose, and I've been learning an awful lot. And thank you for being here today. And please tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Roland. I mean, I'm not a guru. Remember that. None of us are gurus and none of us are experts, because every day is a learning experience here, especially on Google Plus, as we learned today. As you said, I'm out here in San Francisco. I'm a marketing consultant. I combine traditional with social media now, and I can also let everyone know I actually got my I can actually put comments in the comment tracker right now. I mean the event thread. So I'm really happy about that. It finally worked for me.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to adding comments and this show, because I think this topic is really timely for a lot of us trying to kind of understand how to engage better here.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. And as I usually do, I like to grab a couple minutes and just say something off the cuff. But in this case, it's really a sidecar, but it does demonstrate the ability to use Hangouts to meet people, to interact, and build relationships, which is exactly what this subject is today. So anyway, I wanted to bring this to mind, and I'm admitting to you that when I first saw the image or the icon online of who Lynn Sanders was, I don't know what it was. Something shut down in my brain and said, I guess I won't be spending time watching her Hangouts. And however I came to that conclusion, I don't know. I will say that I only have so much time to watch things, and I have to be careful how I spend my time watching Hangouts, because I got to work and watch and learn at the same time. So however it happened, I decided I would not watch Lynn Sanders. Now, behold, it was quite a mistake, and I'm admitting that to the public openly now, and I would like to endorse her and say, if you haven't watched Lynn Sanders, you should be watching Lynn Sanders. A little bit about her. She comes from Winnetka, Illinois. She's a writer, and she's into video producing and publicity. She's got a second business called Simply Music Piano, and she runs a Hangout series called The Difference Makers Show. And I ran into it less than a week ago, and I watched her interview with Jimbo Marshall. So what did I do? I commented in the track. I said something, and Jimbo responded. So I contacted Jimbo again, and all of a sudden we're in this conversation with Jimbo Marshall. And it turns out that, long story short, Jimbo Marshall has agreed to come on with this Hangout series and talk about video in the near future. So Molly, that's good news, and we're going to start thinking about the YouTube and video session that we're going to have in the very near future. So that's one of the end effects of me following Lynn. Now, also, I immediately went to Lynn's lineup and I watched her interview with Bob Berg, and I decided I love Bob Berg. You've got to watch that one. And then I watched her interview with Dale Spencer, and I'm got, my God, I dig this guy, Dale Spencer. These are all great people. And then I watched her the next interview with Virginia Parsons, and I'm going, good grief, I have to contact Lynn and apologize to her for thinking, not even what I was doing, but thinking that she wasn't worth watching. And I can't believe that her viewing audience and her interaction with people is not much greater than it is. So I'm endorsing her, and I'm hoping a few of you will go her way and get some value out of the shows that she produces. So that being the sidestep, it was kind of like an example of watching video hangouts from other people, contacting the people even after the show itself, not even live. You know, I'm commenting afterwards, making relationships and leading to things like possibly having Jimbo Marshall being on this show soon. So it works if we engage, and that's what this show is all about, engagement. So to my group of panelists, I don't necessarily want to work it so I go down the list and go, you speak, and then you speak, and then you speak. What if we've just got the three of us today, and Kristen might be joining us shortly, but what if we just opened up the mics and you guys went off the cuff. I'll start it off by asking the question and see what you think. You know what our basic subject is, and we had a couple of discussions. But the first thing that I would like to know, because I have limited experience in it myself, but I do have some pretty strong opinions as usual. But I would like to know, what do you think as audience participants? Is there a protocol for being an active participant as a part of the audience? In other words, are there things we should do and things we shouldn't?
There's a protocol, but I think it depends on the HOA, the Hangout itself, and what the intention of the Hangout is. Some Hangouts are very social. They're pretty much, there, and they have a panel and everybody's chatting about everything from toothpaste to dog behavior. And at that point in time, the people who are attending and are commenting are really, usually joining in and adding their 2 cents about their toothpaste or their doggy. And, but other Hangouts on Air are very educational. And so there's usually a lot more note taking and not so much interaction. So I think some of it depends on the type of hangout that you're attending as an audience member. And so it makes a difference how you comment. If you're at an educational hangout, for instance, then spending everybody's time taking away from the material that's being presented by going, hi, Lynn, Jeff, Sue, Brian, blah, 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 is kind of annoying because you're really paying attention to the information that's being presented. So I think one of the things that you have to do as an audience member is to be sensitive to the type of hangout that you're attending, and also, of course, the basic question, why are you there? If you're there at a social hangout, then you want to be interacting as much as possible and saying hi to everybody and responding and asking crazy questions and telling jokes and all the things that kind of hangout interaction involves. And if you're looking for engagement and to meet new people, that is a really wonderful type of hangout to be at. They're just fun, they're fun. Everybody's chatting, everybody's having a good time. If you're going to the British Hangout Helpers, with the geeks talking about the latest updates, and John Mueller pops in from time to time to tell us what Google's thinking, that's a totally different kind of show. And that isn't a hi everybody, all that sort of thing. So just like anything else on Google Plus or any place in social media, you need to be sensitive to where you are and who is there and why you're there and why everybody else is there. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. You have fun where it's fun and learn where you're learning.
Yeah, I would second what Zara said about the differences. There's educational HOAs and I would say more the social, but I also think that if you get a regulars who come to see shows, then it's also, you feel like you're seeing your friends for the week because you're seeing a weekly show. Like, for example, Zara's show, she's a perfect example. She's got really interesting topics. She has really interesting guests, but part of the first 5 or 10 minutes of the show, people are greeting each other and talking to each other, and then we do talk about dog toothpaste and various other things. Sometimes they get
Thai green curry. I know it's but I
sidetracked.
Yes, I said you have to give. I said this is an audience directed show. But I need to tell you that the first 5 to 8 minutes, everybody is greeting each other and saying hello. So don't expect comments or, questions right away. It's going to warm up and things will get going. But, carry the show for that time.
Yeah. everyone settles down, and then they focus on the topic, and then then I think what happens, because you've got the first 5-10 minutes of people loosening up, once they hear the topic and if they're interested, then if it's a really good topic, then everybody is commenting and they're going back and forth, and a lot of times also too they're talking to each other about watching the show, about what's going on, and that to me is that where you get that engagement, and that's where you then find out whether or not you can relate to that person. You know, you're plussing each other's comments, and that's where I think, Roland, as you mentioned, you take it offline, and you know that's where engagement starts.
Right.
So
Yeah, I really agree with that, Karen, because you know, you meet people at the Hangouts, and then, you know, after the show is when you can send private messages, and when you can you know, send them a note and Hangout chat, you know, to carry the discussion on further. And then Elaine says, "Yay, Elaine, yes, absolutely. Why are you there?" And then, so, you know, you behave appropriately depending on the Hangout. And I think that's just so just a courtesy to the Hangout hosts and their panel.
Thank you. I think that, yeah, that is great stuff. You know, I just noticed a comment going through is that we had Zara pinned while Karen was talking, so that was my bad. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. I have unpinned Zara, and we are free to be ourselves now. And sorry about that, Karen. I don't know who made that comment, but whoever you are, thank you very much. Okay, well, that leads me to believe that, yes, there's a protocol, and a lot of it has to do with being sensible, because, you know, if the people coming on as audience are only there to get their own audience, well, then that like in my case, that could be a bit of a problem, and could be detrimental to whatever it is that I'm trying to say for the day. Let's see what this is. Terry Lee. The engagement factor does have a social element, but also has a burning questions factor that has to be tracked so as not to be missed by the host and panelists, I would say. And you are absolutely right. And Terry Lee, you've been in a lot of these yourself, and you know, I'm sure, a lot of comments can get lost, especially when the stream starts coming really fast. And what I try to do because of that issue is go through and reread the comment stream and at least get back to the people who made the comments. And if they said something and it wasn't addressed live, I try to get back to them and talk to them about it, and even make a bigger deal about the whole thing. So there's that. And I believe that Molly had something that she wanted to say, so let's turn it over to her for a second.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the engagement for an audience. There's actually a technique that Virginia Parsons has started called the after show. And when I first started attending her Hangouts, I thought it was such a unique technique because, you know, you have the show, you have either your guest or the subject matter that you're talking about, but when you host an after show, you're actually able to get people who attended the live event into what we call the green room. And then from there, you literally can have a one-on-one conversation with participants who attended the live hangout. So I've actually started up my own Hangout on Air show. It's Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, my Hangouts are usually more about digital subjects, but I've employed the after-show technique, and it's actually turned out really well. In fact, the one that I did last Thursday, the participants who showed up at the after-show, they liked it so much, they're like, why aren't the Google Partners community doing these after-shows? Because they're like, you know, we actually got to sit and talk about, you know, all these digital, you know, analytics and AdWords and all the stuff that we offer. And so I thought that was really unique that some of the participants in the after show liked that technique so much.
It's really it's interesting when the student teaches the master something. So you got this field of people who are just like the community, right? And then people who are maybe new to the whole thing or something come up with some idea and says, well, why don't you try this? Because that's really what they want to be involved in. And then the light bulb goes on and goes, wow, maybe we got to try this. And that's a lot of how we learn and how things get developed is by the source of need and the interaction of the people. So this is all good stuff. I've got a couple questions that are pressing me. When it comes to all the information and the various Hangout people that are pumping out just all kinds of data and issues and concepts and theories and so forth, who should we follow and why? And how should we follow? And how would you suggest engaging with people, especially when you look at the array of people and some of them, like, we might imagine them to be untouchable, like maybe several ranks above us or whatever. And I have my theories, but would anyone like to comment on the bravery it takes to comment people and engage on their Hangouts?
Could you restate that question?
Yeah, it has to do with not like this Hangout and what I want to do in the Hangout. It has to do with watching other people's Hangout and choosing your own targets for like possible strategic alliances or contacts and connecting with people who are outside of your immediate sphere of your own Hangout. When you're watching other people's Hangouts, who do you want to partner up with? Who do you want to contact? Who do you want to engage on the side? In other words, what is the strategic connection that you want to make with others?
I know for myself, I watch my influencers, meaning I go out there and I watch individuals that maybe they're talking about search engine optimization or they're talking about social media marketing. I think it's different for different folks, though. So for me, I would say it would depend on what you're interested in learning about or who you're interested in hanging out with and engaging with them.
I think, Roland, for me, how I would do it, or how I've personally have done it, is I watch quite a bit of HOA shows. I try to watch as live as possible because I think the interaction that you get, of course, live is much different if you watch replay. Because you're, following through the comment stream, commenting back and forth with individuals. And what I find is that once you start that conversation back and forth, people start circling each other, and then you're looking at each other's profiles, and then the conversation goes with the posting, and you're following through that. And I think it takes some time to happen, but eventually each feels comfortable where then you can take it to that next level and have a video chat, for example, and that will then lead to other things that could happen, which ends up a lot of times work collaboration. So I find that having just the medium to watch HOAs, and you kind of look for each other's styles and personalities. When you feel that there's a connection, each step of the way you just take it from one to another, and it just grows from that. That's how how I look at it in terms of meeting folks and thinking of it as strategic.
Which leads me to a more directed question at Zara. Zara? Oh, you want? I'll hold my question. And let's see what Terry Lee has to say.
Yeah, Terry Lee says, the comment stream very often alerts me to who the folks are that I would like to add to specific circles, and I would totally agree with that. It's one of the benefits of attending many Hangouts on Air is that you see people, you meet new people in different audiences.
Exactly. So in doing so, you're going to put them in a circle. Now, really what I've been focusing on is what's the next action, or what's the key prime action that you take after you've got them in your circles. And so I've got a question for you in a minute, Zara, but let's see what Karen has here. She's notating that Elaine Nieberding has a statement. Roland, sometimes hangout watching for me is strategic. Sometimes I'm just curious about a new show or host or topic or things in comment, or to get better acquainted with folks I see are yeses. Now I was reading that. Can someone translate the last part of that for me? What do you think, Karen? Or get acquainted with folks I see are yeses.
I think she's basically reiterating what we're all talking about, is that when we're seeing shows, whether it's new for the first time or getting to know a host by their style, and the folks that also watch the show, that there could be a lot of common interests, and where you meet the like-minded folks, that you can take it and have those types of relationships offline, but eventually. I mean, eventually off of the show. Excuse me.
Sure, that makes sense to me now.
Mm-hmm.
I have to backtrack a little bit and hit Zara up. So, Zara, how do you determine your guest speakers? How do you determine them and determine exactly who you're going to contact and how many of them say yes, or do you have to contact a lot of people and a fewer percentage say yes?
How do I determine who to invite? I think that was the first part of the question. They have something intelligent to share and something that can be shared strategically with the audience, so they leave with actions that they can perform. That is the first sort.
And then the second half has to do with the actual percentage, because this will be handy for people who are trying to reach out and develop their...
I would say it was 99%.
What was that again?
99%.
So you're batting nearly 100% on your
Yeah,
contact.
I had one person, I told them the Hangout was audience-driven and they couldn't handle it. They wanted everything all scripted. And I said that didn't work for this show. And they couldn't be more flexible, and so we just parted company.
That's cool. Well, the higher message to them is probably that it probably is not going to work for many shows at all, and certainly not very many Hangouts on air. So
I think for the Hangout host, we're kind of focusing on interaction today, but for the Hangout host, the most frustrating thing, and I've had this happen 3 times, and all of these people were related to psychology, so I thought it was an interesting statistic. I've had people tell me they were going to be on this show, we determined the topic, blah, 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 and they backed out maybe 2 or 3 days before the show. That, as a guest, if you're going to be asked to be a guest panelist, especially when you're the only person on the panel, and you back out 2 or 3 days before the show, you have really caused a problem for that individual. They have to scramble to find a new guest and to have a topic appropriate to their show. If it's conversational, it's not such a big deal. If it's a instructional show, learning show, it's tough. You have to rewrite all the material. You have to do new photos. You have to do new artwork for the HOA. You're causing a lot of work for the host. So, just if somebody asks you to be a guest on their HOA, it's just a lot of what we're talking about today is common courtesy. So it's common courtesy to, if you make a commitment, keep it. If you can't make the commitment, that's cool. Bowing out right ahead, it's like standing someone up for a date.
Well, I also think too, Zara, it's like you basically have to put on a brand new show 2 days before, where you've done all the work beforehand, and you're just like, and then you got to find someone who can fit the schedule, and people are busy. So I can imagine that's really hard. And I think also too, Zara, as you mentioning, for your shows, like I like watching your show. I admit I'm a Zapster. Your shows are very educational, And that the takeaways that I get from your shows are a lot of food for thought, where I kind of think about afterwards, like how can I incorporate, from what the guests who are on your show are talking about, that how I can actually implement into my business or into my client's business. I mean, that's the reason why a lot of people, well, that's the purpose of watching HOAs, I think, especially when you're watching social media theme ones, right? You want to know what you can take away, the nuggets that you can get from that information. And in a side note, that's where also if you can find those like-minded people who have your similar interests, that's where Roland, the whole partnership and the working together comes from, because here's a perfect target, I think, to meet people who have your same interests. And that's why you're watching, social media shows where it's the same group of people, like Lynn and Terry and Elaine and Lon and Richard, and I think quite a few of us, we all kind of we're like a pack, a tribe. We go from show to show throughout the week watching, so that we can learn from each other.
That is good stuff. And no doubt every time I do this, I get together with you little handful of people, and I always learn something. And I'm sitting here as the host bringing you into the show, and I'm listening to you going, wow, I got to watch my replay, because I'm so busy helping conduct things here that I don't really get to absorb your complete points all the time,
Right. It's very intense being a host, a hangout host. I just want to acknowledge Roland. We have an agreement for this show. I just talked about people bowing out. So we have an agreement because I'm a post-cancer. I'm a cancer survivor, and I have some priorities, and they are my family. And Saturday is a family day, and so I always tell Roland each and every week, I tell him, hey, listen, if my son calls me at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning and says, hey, we're going to the beach, I'm gone. And if you can be comfortable with that, I'm okay with that. So, oftentimes I'm here. I think I missed one Saturday because something was happening. But, it's still the same thing. It's common courtesy. And that has to do also with what people in the audience, how people in the audience communicate with each other. Because I've attended hangouts where audience members, if they'd been in the same room, it would have been fisticuffs. And so there's this separation because they're online and they're arguing and stuff. But it's like public life anywhere, whether you're online or offline. It's how you are conducting yourself in the world. So I just wanted to add that because I have seen some very intense audience intercommunication that had nothing to do with what was on the screen, but the audience members were having at it, So, and then everybody in the audience is like looking at this stuff going on and not really paying attention to the show. So in a way, that's a disservice to the host and the guests on the panel.
Absolutely, and I can attest to, we had a couple shows back where the whole conversation was on karaoke, and that's all good and well, but I mean this show is definitely not about music and definitely not about karaoke. So I misled them by mentioning karaoke, and all of a sudden it was this whole sidecar of discussion. Well, that was fine because the people had fun talking about it and made some fun quips and stuff. But as a good example of how things can offshoot, and albeit that the people are entertained, it's certainly not about the subject that we tried to present for the day. So something presenting from Karen. Let's see what.
Yeah,
Lynn
Sanders. She heard that her ears were burning and said, "Hey, I got to come on and watch what's going on with your show, Roland." So she's here and she's got a comment. So you definitely want to take note what she has to say here.
Thank you, Karen. and I actually did, and I pinned her comment, so I'm going to show it to you now and discuss it as we go. And you know how reading can be funny here, as far as for me, and so I'll try to get through this. Oh, she says she has a lot of courage for me to being willing and to be spontaneous with the Hangouts. I'm actually a pretty brave cuss, so that's really not the issue for me. And but thank you very much. Does it take courage? I don't know, but it does take some a bit of guts to just do it. And what I keep telling people is like life is cool, but you got to show up, and you certainly can't experience something unless you try. And so that's something that I believe in. You just got to try it out and see what happens. So do I have a lot of stress as a show host? Well, first of all, I have trouble calling it a show. I don't set up a show in it so much, but I do want to have a good engagement field online and allow people to comment and be engaged and ask questions and ask me more questions, ask the people I have on as panelists, ask more questions, and so forth. So her finishing lineup, Lynn, is you do want to know and what you can take away from a program and connect with others. So thank you for your comment, Lynn, and I'm going to remove that. But I definitely gave a little plug to your show, talked about some of your people that you've interviewed, and you are engaging. And so as a good example of what I'm trying to get across to people in this show is literally watch Lynn's show, because she has engaging content and engaging people, and they're from all walks of life and different foci. So it's not just a matter of concentrating on something that's going to get something promoted for Lynn, but she shows the people and why they're successful and what they're doing to deliver their message, and it was just really incredible. So as far as engagement, what I'm trying to figure out is why a lot more people are not calling her, watching her show, and so forth. And that is the only puzzle I have with that. So thank you very much for being here today, Lynn. Let's see what Zara found with Terry Lee has a comment.
It was just a fun comment from Terry Lee written. Roland Takaoka lives dangerously, bringing up the subject of karaoke again. Just saying.
Yeah, I suppose so. And you will never know whether that was planned or not. Well, yeah, but you are right, Terry Lee. Maybe that is a dangerous thing to do. But I use it as an example of how sidecar discussions can happen. And whether or not they're really on the main topic, if people enjoyed that, then maybe they're going to come back anyway and participate the next time, even if they're looking for karaoke or they're looking for unicorns or whatever it is that they're tagging, and they come back for more. So inevitably, if this show is delivering some of that, even if it's not the main focus, if we deliver some of that and people are smiling and enjoying themselves and nodding their heads yes, then somehow we've done our job, and hopefully it'll pertain to our end goal.
Hey, Roland, Molly has something to say.
Yeah.
About HOAs.
Go ahead, Molly.
Hi, yeah, thanks. I just quickly wanted to mention that I think another tool that can be used that an audience can engage with the Hangout on Air or just on Google Plus in general is by using the One Plus button. It is a great tool. It's free. It's pretty simple to use, but it's at the same time it's a way that you can acknowledge a person, a comment, a post. It's been around for quite a while. It was actually created by Chris Messina, the same gentleman who created the hashtag, which we had a two-part series a couple weeks back on hashtags. But I just wanted to quickly throw out there that the One Plus button is a great tool to engage with people on Google Plus.
Thank you, Molly, and I agree totally. And you know, it brings to mind a lot of things because a plus one is somewhat the equivalent of a Facebook like and that sort of thing. But comparatively, the worthlessness of a like compared to a plus one is just vast. And what a lot of people don't know is that they can research when they have 10 pluses, they can actually research it and find out exactly who those pluses are. And a lot of people just see the pluses and they go, oh, I got 10 people to plus me. But when you start analyzing who they were and you realize, wow, this person's plussing a lot of what I do. So they're not vocal, but they are endorsing in some way what I'm doing and what I'm saying.
One thing I'd add to that, Roland, is something that's really different from the One Plus versus a like on Facebook would be the fact that when somebody One Pluses a comment, post, or a person, they actually get notified. And to go a step further, there's actually software out there, CircleScope, I'm sure the subject's come up before. They actually track One Pluses. So it's really a great tool to be able to, like you mentioned, who's One Plusing my comments, and it opens an opportunity for you to actually engage with those people.
And I think also too, and I also think too, Roland, is that if you take it up, if you want to go to Google Plus and the plus one, comment and share. I mean, the hierarchy is the plus one is the start. The commenting, that's where you actually get the engagement. But the ultimate form of flattery, where someone actually likes what you're saying or what you're posting, is when they actually share it to their audience or to their followers. And once you see someone starting to do that, that's where you know that you guys have some form of interest or some sort of commonality, that this would give a great leeway to actually start having conversations with that individual.
Absolutely, and that's like a whole different conversation. But
yeah,
relative,
it is. But even on Hangouts, you have the ability as an audience member to plus one the comments by other audience members, and it is the start. I mean, somebody may just have a funny comment, and you want to acknowledge it, and you plus one it. That's very simple. And also for a lot of people coming new to Google Plus, they're just trying to feel their way in, and so they may do a lot of plus oneing before they ever comment or share. I have a couple of people with whom I now have ongoing engagement, but they probably plus one 300 posts before they ever said anything. And also, if you see that someone is plus oneing you either in the HOA or in your comment stream, and they're not saying anything, you can always encourage them along and say, wow, for HOA hosts, well, I saw you were there, but you didn't post any comments. Anything I can answer for you, or what part of the show did you like the best, or, when you're reaching out to people, you can acknowledge these people who are just kind of coming on to Google Plus and trying to figure out how it works, and it's a really good way to help people come on board is to respond to those plus ones.
It's really, really probably maybe the most important thing that's been said today is that we can take even a plus one and use it as a doorway to engage. And even if you engage at a light level, but we don't know, it could eventually be a very deep level. Look what I uncovered researching my connection with Lynn, and what that led me to, and now a new connection and more connections, and a completely revised state of who she is and what she's presenting. So if we do a little bit of research, we're going to make a lot of discoveries, and those discoveries are going to open doors. and they're going to allow us a different perspective on what we have as opportunities all around us. If we don't reach out, we'll never know. The other thing that I would like to paste on that is that the difference between a share in Google Plus and a share in Facebook. We could do a whole program about that. But the thing is, there's no commitment to a Facebook share. I mean, half the time it's like, gee, share this discount coupon and you'll gain these extra bonus points and blah blah blah. They didn't ask you how good a product it is or whether you use it. They just want you to share the ad, and that's the epitome of the ad. The whole consciousness of advertisers on Facebook. Whereas in Google Plus, you've got people who are really concerned with what message they're delivering, whether the people like the message and are attuned to it and aligned with it, and then if you are, please share it. And that's a totally different thing. Karen, did you have something to say? Turn on your mic, please.
I was going to say about sharing, the biggest compliment about sharing is that if someone shares your post, the manner, or as we were talking about etiquette here on Google Plus, is that go back and actually thank that individual. And when you thank that individual, 8 out of 10 times, and I know this from personal experience, people are more, I think, shocked that you actually say thank you, that you shared my post. And then that's kind of, again, started the conversation where they might say something back, and ultimately sometimes they circle you, you circle them. And so it's one of those things where anytime anyone comments, you should try to comment back. Anytime anyone actually shares your work, your original work that you've posted, please also thank that individual, and it can go a long way in terms of building again on that relationship and engagement.
Agreed. Now we've got exactly 5 minutes to end on time, and since we started 2 or 3 minutes late, we've got a little bit of leeway. But is there anything else that we're not covering in the general discussion that we missed and should possibly bring up to wrap this up?
Well, I think there's a great comment from Lynn Sanders. She says, I agree, many new people to the HOA community may not feel comfortable in +1 or making comments. Several of my guests never even watched a Hangout before. We are on the cutting edge of technology that's still new to many people. And I have to agree, and there are many people who come to, Google Plus, just Google Plus itself, and are experiencing everything. And as a side note to that, for the new people, if you start talking in lingo, it just puts people off. So I try, unless I'm, in a private talk, I talk about Hangouts or live broadcasts. If I want to go techie with people, we can talk about the HOA and why the comment tracker isn't working, or why people are unable to comment in the comment stream or something. But if you just start throwing terms out like HOA and people are new, they are really clueless. It does not show that you were an insider. It shows that you're not welcoming in the new people.
I would second what Zara says about that. I actually attended a conference in Orlando this past Wednesday where there are several well-known Ivy League professors there, and I had an opportunity to share my experiences about Google Hangouts On Air, and it was like I was almost speaking Greek to them. They weren't exactly sure. So one method I've done to kind of counteract that is, like, I like to refer to Hangouts On Air as kind of like watching a TV show. I think if you can use terminology that somebody can relate with, then it's a little bit easier to kind of introduce Google Hangouts On Air to people who may.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I like live broadcast or something along that line. It's like, TV on, or even YouTube. That's why I love it. I love the Molly. That was so great, Molly.
Speaking of YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, I just want to interject just real quickly. Google Partners Community is going to be hosting a Google YouTube Connect event, which I'm hosting in a couple weeks. So I'm really excited about it, and I'd love an opportunity to talk about YouTube on a future Hangout, Roland.
Well, we are definitely zeroing in on the YouTube concept, and hopefully Jimbo will join us on that, and a couple of other people, and that's coming up in probably the first week of April, and I'm placing big bets on that, and so we'll see if we can make that happen. I'm noticing an outrageous stream of comments, and I really, really appreciate that. After all, this was the hangout about engagement, and you people came across for me and contributed. I would like one additional thing for anybody that has a notion, especially to this hangout series here. If you are listening and enjoying any of the participation that you have when you come watch the show, let me know why. But beyond that, let me know what subjects that you would like covered that we could possibly use as future itinerary, and I'll gather the right people together and discuss what that is. If it pertains to small business development and social media building, then we'll do it. So tell me what it is you want us to show on this show. I called it a show again, and it's not even a show. I hate that term. But let me know what you want us to talk about, and we will develop that conversation soon. So does anyone else have anything closing that they would like to say to the camera, say to the audience before we wrap up this hour?
I just have final thoughts about engaging, whether it's on a Hangout or any place else on Google Plus. And that is, if somebody is engaging with you at any level, whether it's +1 or commenting or sharing, acknowledge that.
Yeah, that couples with what you said earlier, and I consider that probably the most important takeaway from this discussion is we can talk about targeting the right people and doing whatever, but the main thing is responding to everyone 100%. If it's possible, do it. So with that, I think that we're a wrap, and I would say I really appreciate my panel of people who have contributed greatly, and I can always depend upon you to be the cutting edge of thinking and thought leaders. So I appreciate you being here, and I also appreciate all of those who watched today, and all of those especially who watched and commented. And I know it takes guts to be even an audience participant, but most of us are learning to do that more and more, and it's really an interactive community that we got going. So I thank you very much, and I hope that you enjoyed the program. And let me know what you want to see in the future, will you please? Roland signing off. Everyone can say goodbye, and thank you from Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.